Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Carsten. Thank you, everybody, for your attention in this webinar. My name is Anton Tikhonov, and I am the sales engineer in Kerio, Russia. And today we will speak about the new features that will allow you to secure your wireless network with the latest version of the Kerio Control 8.4 release. Hold on, I need to change my mode. Okay, so we will speak about the two new features, as Carsten already says. These features are guest network and radio authentication server. We will discuss some business cases. We will review the technical details of these implementations, and I will describe you some use cases. So let's start with the guest network and business case of it. So in most cases, you're using the single UTM to provide internet access to your LAN users via wired connection or wireless connection. But also you have to be ready that army of the guests will try to connect to your wireless network. These guests are usually some visitors of your office, I don't know, some clients that would like to have internet access and so on. So the main question is, why are you paying for the army of guests? So sometimes the case is that business may need to temporarily grant internet access to guests, but need to meet the following requirements. First of all, it should be possible to set special policies and limits on guests. Also, guests should not be able to access local network resources, only internet access. Also, guests need to be protected by firewall security features, just like, I don't know, antivirus, IPS, and content filtering. And guests can't be licensed as they are temporary, and the quantity is difficult to calculate. Because you may have today 10 guests, tomorrow 100 of guests, so it's quite measure this number, actual number of the guests. So general information about the guest network in Kerio Control. So that's first of all and most important, that the guest devices doesn't count towards the license calculations in Kerio Control. All statistics are counted under a built-in account named the guest users, and you may see these statistics in the Kerio Control statistic web interface. Also, there is special welcome page which support custom HTML message and custom logo. So you may put your own logo on this page, put your own HTML formatted message for the guests. And also, this welcome page or internet access for the guests through this welcome page can be secured with predefined password, which will be stored in the web interface of administration in Kerio Control. General security for guest devices provided by Kerio Control 8.4. The most important part is that all guest devices connected through guest interfaces isolated from internal networks. Kerio Control applies all layers of security to all guest devices except Kerio Control Web Filter. You may apply special policies to any guest device, just like bandwidth management rules or content filtering rules. And it is important to know that Control will redirect guests to welcome page after 2 hours of inactivity, that the guests can prove that they are still there and they would like to use your internet connection. So let's move to the technical details of guest network implementation in Kerio Control. So as I said, there are new type of interfaces. Actually, it's not interfaces, it's new group of interfaces named guest interfaces. Also, we have created the special service group, which contains the DNS, DHCP, and Kerio Control web interface protocols, and we put this rule into the new traffic rule called guest traffic, allowing access from guest interfaces to the firewall with these services. So these allowing rules and all these services needs for guest devices to have internet access and access to the welcome page.
Anton, sorry.
Also,
Anton,
yeah,
there's
sure.
one question from Kikundu Mark. Why does the guest login page allow guests to change the password? I think they are not able to change the password.
No. When I told about the passwords, it means that administrator can set additional password for welcome page to ask guests to input this password to have internet access. So today I will show you this during the live demonstration show, so you will see how it works with Kerio Control 8.4. So guests can't change any password. They just can input additional password if it is necessary and if it is configured by administrator.
Okay.
So, and the final change to the configuration that was done in the 8.4 release, we have added the guest interfaces group to default outgoing rule named Internet Access NAT. So it just allows to provide the same internet access for guest devices as well as for LAN clients. So the guest welcome page, the second point that was added during the development process of Kerio Control 8.4 guest network feature. So actually, this welcome page doesn't use SSL, so just to prevent the browser warnings. This welcome page supports custom HTML message and logo. So, and you can define logo, title, and favorite icon in advanced options of web interface in Kerio Control configuration. And this page blocks all internet access until the guest clicks to continue on welcome page. So until guest will push this button, he can't get internet access. So you can see right now on the slide there is additional options require users to enter a password. So administrator can define the password to the guest to access the internet. No, just not to let them in with pushing the continue button. So, and one more thing. Kerio Control assumes that the host is the guest host when it comes from an interface which belongs to group guest interfaces. And actually, administrator can locate all guest hosts quite easily through the active host screen because they are marked with different icon, as you may see right now on the slide. So that's all about the how it works. How it was configured. There's only one more important part, but it belongs more to configurations. So restricted access of guest interface. Actually, with Kerio Control 8.4, we have implemented the built-in traffic restriction that prevents any traffic exchange between guest network and trusted local interface network. So these settings actually overrides the traffic rule settings to prevent any misconfiguration. So even if someone configure in traffic rules that you may access the LAN resources from guest network, it will not work with Kerio Control 8.4 because we have built-in traffic restriction feature. So if you would like to know more about the guest interfaces, you can do it later in our knowledge base. Actually, on the slide, you may see the hyperlink link to the appropriate knowledge base article. So if you would like, you may read this information later.
And I just would like to add something. I had the case, or we had the case, that people were asking on the comment section of the knowledge base article that they cannot find any guest interface and they cannot simply drag and drop something to the guest interface. As when you look at the KB article, it states that you should just drag and drop one of the network interfaces to the guest interfaces section. So the thing is, there are two scenarios where you are not able to drag such an interface to the guest interfaces group. Scenario one, you do not have any network interface left. So all are occupied by, let's say, dedicated servers or DMZ or whatever. Or it could be that even if the interface is not used, it resides in the trusted network section. So it could be that you may have pushed or drag and drop them already in the trusted internet interfaces or trusted network interfaces section, sorry. So then you need to identify which is the Ethernet port you would like to be dedicated as a guest internet interface network, and you need to drag it from the trusted to the guest interface network section. There is an additional question from Christopher. Can I write my page in HTML5? As far as I know, and I'm pretty sure, this is only basic HTML, so you cannot create some fancy HTML5 pages. It's basic HTML.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Carsten. It's very important note from you. Actually, I don't have any idea about this additional cases that when users can't put the interface into the guest interface group. Strange that I didn't know that. But okay.
Maybe Anton, you can answer the question from Alex. So as I understand, I absolutely need to have a separate physical interface, and I can't reuse LAN interface with specific VLAN.
No, you can. No. It's not right because we already tested it with the Technical Distribution Summit in our UK office. You know, Carsten, yeah. So we have used the wireless access point with two VLANs connected to single Ethernet interface, which was splitted with two VLANs. And we put one VLAN on guest interfaces group and one to the trusted local interfaces group, and everything works perfectly. So it can be, you may use the VLANs with this feature. So yes, let's move on to use cases of guest network usage in Kerio Control, and we will start with the guest LAN and single internet link. So in this case, you are sharing the single internet link within your guest network and your LAN clients. So all of them using the same internet link. So and you have to make some additional changes in your configuration to prevent guests taking all the bandwidth available. So actually, it's quite easy to do. All you have to do is to remove the guest interfaces group from internet access NAT rule and create separate traffic rule for guest internet access, as you may see right now on the slide. And the second step will be a creating of a new bandwidth management rule, limiting the traffic for traffic rule guest traffic. Sorry for the traffic. So this rule will allow you to limit the download and upload links for some amount of bandwidth. Depends on your decision. So you will prevent the guest taking all the bandwidth with this configuration. Actually, it's quite easy to implement, and I will show you today during the live demonstration. But if you would like to know more about the bandwidth management configuration, you may read the appropriate article in our knowledge base, and you can see the link to these articles right now on this slide. So actually, only two steps for single internet link. You have to create the separate guest internet access traffic rule and additional bandwidth management rule limiting the upload and download for created traffic rule. So the second scenario is the same guest LAN and two internet links. And in this case, in most cases, you would like to split your guest network internet connections from your LAN network internet connections between different internet links. On this example, you may see that we map all internet requests from guest network for some slow DSL connections, and we map the internet connections from your internal employees to some kind business DSL connection. So we assume that this is fast internet link. So and to do this, it's the same, not very hard to implement actually. I believe that everybody knows already that we have special configuration type for our traffic rules and named it policy routing. Actually, you may see the configuration changes on the slide right now. As you can see, this is the same traffic rules as we had for previous scenario. The only change is the settings of translation. As you may see, I changed the translation for default traffic rule accessing internet through NAT. So I set the usage of the specified internet link, and I use the business DSL. It's just a name, it could be whatever. And I did the same for the guest interfaces traffic rule, so I set the usage of some kind of slow DSL connection. So actually that's all we have to do to split all these traffic flows between separate internet links. If you would like to know more, again, about the policy routing, you may read about it in our knowledge base and appropriate article right now on the slide. So you may use this hyperlink to access this article. So actually, that's all what I want to tell you about the guest interfaces, technical implementations, and so on. Now I would like to move to the radius authentication, and if you have some questions, just send it to us and we will answer you during the presentation, and then when we have the special question and answer section. So radius authentication and the business case of it. I believe that most of you already met such situation when in single office we have 1, 2, 3 and even more wireless access points serving the same SSID but not interconnected between each other, and using the same pre-shared key to access to wireless for mobile devices or any wireless devices, doesn't matter. So it is very common situation and it has a lot of disadvantages, and I would like to highlight 3 of them. So the first disadvantage is that it's quite easy for your users to share the pre-shared key to anyone. So for example, they have some visitor, the visitor needs some access to the internet, so your employee share your pre-shared key for your wireless security, this guy connecting to your wireless, accessing the internet, and also he can access whole the local area network connection. So it's security issue. It's really security. It's big security issue. The second disadvantage, in case if you would need to change the pre-shared key, and you will do it, it will break everyone's connection to the network, and all your users will need to know the new password and to make additional configuration steps of their mobile devices or any wireless devices. So it's, first of all, you need to share the new pre-shared key, and then everybody need to reconfigure their devices. It's very, very uncomfortable for everyone. And the third disadvantage, for example, if someone would like to leave a company, he can still access to the network, because you didn't change the pre-shared key. But if you would like to change the pre-shared key, please look the second disadvantage. So it's really big issue. So in case of Radius server, as you may see right now on the slide, everyone using their personal Kerio Control user login and password to access the wireless security. It can be a local database users or maybe some mapped users from Active Directory, for example. So if someone leaves the company, yes, you only thing that you have to do to prevent his access to your wireless infrastructure is just blocking his account in Active Directory or directly in Kerio Control users. In case if someone shared his login and password for some visitor, you may easily notice that in your active host screen in Kerio Control Web Administration. So, and you definitely will not need to change some kind of pre-shared password to access your wireless network, because there isn't any pre-shared key for accessing your wireless. So, about the technical details and configuration of Radius authentication in Kerio Control 8.4. So implementation, right now in Kerio Control 8.4, we have implemented the Radius server based on this standalone process, free Radius. Actually, it's open source, well-known open source application. So to enable it, you just need to tick an option, appropriate option in the web interface, administration web interface of Kerio Control. Select the server certificate to use for this server. About the certificate, some Radius clients, just like Windows 7, strictly checks the validity of this certificate. So in case of Windows 7, for example, you will need to do some additional configuration steps to allow usage of self-signing certificate. And today I will show you how to do it. And the last configuration option is the Radius password. Actually, it is a password used for connecting your wireless access points to a Radius server on Kerio Control. Sometimes on client side, it names shared key or shared secret, something like this. So what is it? So what is Radius server in Kerio Control? It is remote authentication dial-in user service. So it's just a protocol for accessing to a computer network. And what it is used for? First of all, integration with wireless access point, but not only with them. Actually, the Radius server in Kerio Control based on the standard protocol 802.1x, and it can be used not only for wireless access but also for wired access. So you may integrate the Radius server in Kerio Control with any wired network switch supporting this protocol. So the controls user account used instead of pre-shared key, as I said previously. So it improves the security, and this Radius server improves the user experience by eliminating a step of authentication. Yes, because users don't have to remember some additional password to get access to your wireless infrastructure. Every time they're using only their username and password, so they definitely know this.
Or at least they should know
about
it.
yeah. Yeah, at least. At least they should know, of course, Carsten. So the implementation. So actually, when a user is authenticated with Radius protocol, Control creates an internal map and mapping the host MAC address to authenticated user. So it works like MAC authentication previously released in previous version of Control. But it is not works if host where a user is working on behind the router, because its MAC address will be hidden by the router's MAC address. So you need to keep it in mind. So actually that's all what I would like to tell you today about the Radius server implementation and configuration. If you would like to know more, or if you would like to know more in the future, if we will make some changes in radius implementation in Kerio Control. You may get this information from appropriate article on our knowledge base, so you may see the link, hyperlink on the slide right now. So there's one more interesting moment that we, during the development process, we have tested some wireless access points with the Kerio Control radius server. So all these points were tested with our radius server, and you may use it without any frighten that some of them will not work. Definitely, these will work with Kerio Control radius server for sure. So also you may see right now the configuration screens on different types of the wireless access points. For example, it's TP-Link. Actually, you may see the configuration page for radius server on the control sites. It's quite simple. There's only one checkbox and two options to configure. And the configuration screens for radius security on airport utility. So it's some Apple devices. So that's all what I want to tell you today. So now let's move on to the live demonstration. I need to do some steps right now. So we will start with the configuration of guest network on control side. So I would like to ask you to tell me, can you see the administration interface of control right now? So you can see. So yeah, when I will change some, when I will do some changes, and because of my screen resolution is quite high, I will make zoom in. I think it will help you to see some details. So it should not be a problem for you. So let's start with the interface configuration. And as you may see, right now I have some internet interface, some trusted local interface, and of course predefined some guest interface and some additional internet link. So actually, to make all my guests, I need to put this interface to the guest interface group and push apply button. So that's all. That's all I have to do. Nothing more. So it's all about the interface configuration for basic configuration for accessing the internet for guest devices. So now I need to switch to traffic rules configuration, and now you can see the default traffic rules that were created after the installation of Kerio Control. So actually they're internet access not. So this is default rule, and there is new point is guest interfaces. So actually everything others is default, and one more new rule is guest traffic, which allows the access from guest interfaces to firewall using the DNS, DHCP, and Kerio Control web interface services. So for accessing DNS service, DHCP service, and accessing the welcome page. So actually, that's all what was changed in compare with default installation of previous version of control. So now, as I said, we will make some additional configurations, and I will show you the first scenario when we're using the single internet link. And so what I have to do, I will create a new rule. Yes, this rule will, for example, guest access. Guest internet access is basic allowing rule. So next, we're adding the interface as a source. It will be the guest interfaces group. Now we're adding the interface as a destination, and it will be definitely internet interfaces group. And we're allowing any service. So we're not pushing any restrictions for the services accessing on the internet. So that's all. Just push the finish button, and we have this rule. So actually almost everything, but we need to set up the translation. It will be the default settings. So we need just push the button and tick the enable source NAT option. That's all. So that's all we have to do in traffic rules for sorry, I forgot to remove the guest interfaces from the default traffic rule. So right now, yes, we have the default. We have two separate rules. One of them belongs to guest internet access. The other belongs to your trusted local network internet access. So now we just need to create bandwidth management rule to limit our guests for eating all the bandwidth. So it's quite easy. Guest limit. We're connecting this bandwidth rule with the packet matching and traffic rule. So it will be, so here it is, guest internet access. Okay, and we set the limits. So do not exceed 20% of the link. And same for upload, 20% of a link. So as you can see, it's quite easy to configure all these things. So that's all what we have to do to prevent our guests from eating all the bandwidth and to save 80% of bandwidth for your employees. So the second scenario was using of policy routing. So it's quite easy. So we have the same traffic rules. Yes. All we need to do is to put the second internet interface to internet interfaces group. So we did it right now. And right now we need to change the settings for the translations. So we will map the guest internet access to, for example, slow DSL, WAN slow DSL internet connection, and we will put all internal employees internet access to some business DSL connection. So that's all. Actually, you can do the same not only for the interface groups, but for users, user groups, for IP addresses, and so on. So it's everything what can be put in a source can be used for policy routing. So that's all about the controls configuration. All we have to do right now is maybe to show. I will show you the DHCP server configuration. Actually, it's quite simple. If you are using the internal embedded DHCP server in Kerio Control and you are using the automatic configuration, the guest interfaces will be configured automatically, as well as trusted local interface and other interfaces groups. So as you may see, I have some scope, I have some reservation, I have some leases already here. So all these hosts are guests. So actually, that's all about the DHCP configuration. And now let's move to the welcome page. Actually, as you may see, it is on a domains and user login and guest interfaces tab. So it's new tab here, and here it is. So it's quite easy. So sorry. Yes, sorry. Yes. So it's quite easy. Yes. Sorry again. Okay. Sorry about it. It's funny tool for this. So as you may see, it's just a text with some simple formatting. So actually, this you may use this tag, I mean href, for publishing the terms and condition page. But you need to keep in mind that the server where this page is should be on the guest network too, because otherwise your guest clients can't access this page. And also you can see we can require users to enter a password and put this password. Right now it's 123, but we can generate more strong password and it will be saved right here on this page undecrypted. So that's all about the control configuration. Now I will show you the client side, how it looks like. Sorry, I just need to make some changes in client configuration. So it is the Windows 8.1 client, and I will show you just how it looks like. I mean, how the welcome screen looks like, welcome page. So I hope my network settings is okay.
While your Windows 8.1 is looking for the appropriate settings, I just would like to tell you that because Andre was asking about if we get populate some white paper of those scenarios. This video is recorded, and you will be able to see it either on the partner portal, or you will be able to see it on our YouTube channel, the Kerio Deutschland YouTube channel. And I think also your presentation is not a big secret, so it would also be possible to download the presentation either from our partner portal or some public same page.
Yeah, definitely. It will be published, but it seems there are some issues with my virtual networking. Sorry about it. I need to check this out. Oh, I know what is. Yes, I know what is the problem, because this link actually it's a fake. It's not a real internet connection, and now it's. Yes, I see the problem. Sorry about it, guys. I forgot to test it. So I will change everything back. Yeah, definitely. So yeah. Oh yeah, and yeah, it already thought that I'm guest who is. Hold on. Sorry again. Um, yeah. Actually, I know the reason, because this client is already authenticated as guest, so you can see it right here. He is already authenticated and already has access. So the Kerio Control will redirect my next access to welcome page only after 2 hours of inactivity, and you may see my inactivity is only 13 seconds. So to prevent it, I need to reboot control or wait for 2 hours. It is not suitable for our webinar, unfortunately, but so I will not reboot my control for now, but why not? I can do it. It will take a couple of seconds.
Sydney, by the way, is asking, this solution is specific to wireless networks. In general, you do not need a wireless access point, but this is a typical scenario where you are attaching wireless network access points.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So actually, in most cases, you need the radio security for the wireless access, because it is big hole in security of your organization, using a pre-shared key or something like this. But you may use the radio server, as I said, as for wireless as well as for wired clients. So it's not a big difference actually, because it's almost the same.
So, for example, I know that my brother multifunctional device has also the ability to identify itself against some radio server, and which is necessary, for example, in case you would like to scan something directly to a network share or something.
Yes. Sometimes the smart printing devices can use the radius authentication. It's quite common. So right now it works. Control was rebooted, and is just reset all the active host screen. And now you can see the welcome page. So you may see the some custom message with some hyperlink. Actually, in my case, it's just a link to my internal tested Kerio Connect server, but in your case it might be any web server which has provided some page for the guests with some rules and conditions and so on. It doesn't matter. So, and to access internet right now, I have to input the password. And also, you may see the notice that the network security powered by Kerio Control and Sophos. So that means that all features that are included in Kerio Control are provided for the guest devices as well as the Sophos antivirus protection, except Kerio Control web filter. So now I have input the password and push the continue button, and I'm on the internet, so I can access everything that I want according to the policies that were configured by a network administrator. And network administrator right now can see my connection with a special icon here. So this icon means that this host, it comes from the guest network, and this host will not be counted towards the license. So that's all about the guest network. Now I would like to show you the radio server configuration page. Actually, it's quite simple, quite small, and you can see it in user and groups domain and user login page on authentication options tab. So here it is. Okay, authentication options and Wi-Fi authentication radio server. Here you just need to be to enterprise clients authentication in Kerio Control and choose this SSL certificate to use. You may use it as usually some edit option, some create new certificate, or use the predefined certificate, doesn't matter. And set the password for accessing the radio server on Kerio Control site. So actually that's all you have to configure on your control side. All other steps will be configured on the wireless access points or wired network switches side. So as I promised you, I will show you right now how to override the default settings of Windows 7 to prevent the strictly checking of the self-signing certificate. So it's quite easy. Actually, you need to open up your wireless network connection. There will be a properties option. Actually, right now we're using the old one. We're using the pre-shared key in our office. We didn't make changes for our wireless security yet, but we're going to do it next month. So right now I will change to the VPA2 Enterprise security type, encryption type IAS, definitely, and network authentication method will be PEEP. So the settings button, and here is only one option, validate server certificate. So if it is in, it will check across all trusted certificate authorities, some servers. If you will uncheck this option, Windows 7 will trust to any SSL certificate provided by radio server. So actually it means any self-sign certificate that you may configure in your Kerio Control instance. So actually that's all. It's quite simple configuration, and that's all you have to do in your Windows 7. Windows 8 client already trust any self-sign certificate, and there isn't any issue like this in Windows 8. So just only related to Windows 7 operating system.